Silence is not just golden, it's transformative. It holds the kind of power that most people don't understand. But once you do, you'll realize it's your secret weapon. Imagine being able to walk into a room and command attention. Not by speaking louder, but by saying nothing at all. That's the kind of power silence gives you. The power to control situations, make your words matter, and protect your energy. Today, I'm going to show you how to master the art of silence. You'll learn how not reacting to life's challenges can actually give you more control than any quick response ever could. You'll see how silence can make your words more impactful, elevate your presence, and create a sense of mystery that draws people in. By the end of this, you'll understand how silence can be your most powerful tool for influence and strength. Stick with me, because you're about to unlock a new way of communicating that can change everything. Number 1, they expect you to react. Don't give them that satisfaction. The moment you stop reacting, you take back control. Most people don't realize this. They go through life constantly responding to every little thing, what someone says, what someone does, what someone thinks about them. They get pulled into arguments, distractions, and endless debates that lead nowhere. And let me tell you, that's exactly what people want. They want to see if they can make you flinch, if they can pull you off track, if they can control your emotions. You've probably experienced this before. Maybe you've been working hard, staying focused on your goals, minding your own business. But then someone comes along, could be a friend, a family member, even a stranger, and they start testing you. They say something negative. They doubt you. They criticize you. And in that moment, they are waiting for your reaction. They want to see if they can get under your skin, because the moment you react, they win. The moment you try to defend yourself, explain yourself, or fight back, they have succeeded in distracting you from what really matters. You see, most people don't understand the power of silence. They think they have to respond to everything, that they have to explain themselves to everyone. But let me tell you something. When you refuse to react, you become unpredictable, and that confuses people. When you don't give them the satisfaction of seeing you upset, of seeing you argue, of seeing you thrown off course, suddenly they don't know what to do. They start questioning themselves. They start wondering if they were wrong about you. And that's where the real power is. Think about a time when someone tried to provoke you, but you stayed quiet. Remember how uncomfortable they got, how they started second-guessing their own words. That's because silence forces people to deal with their own thoughts. When you argue, they can fight back. But when you don't engage, they are left alone with their own doubts, their own insecurities, their own weaknesses. Now, I'm not saying you should never speak up. I'm not saying you should let people walk all over you. What I'm saying is this: choose your battles wisely. Some people don't deserve your response. Some situations don't deserve your energy. Some arguments are designed to do nothing but drain you. And if you let yourself get caught up in them, you'll waste time, you'll lose focus, and you'll feel exhausted over something that never really mattered in the first place. The truth is, people will always have opinions about you. They'll judge you, they'll doubt you, they'll talk about you. That's life. And if you spend all your time trying to prove them wrong, trying to explain yourself, trying to convince them of your worth, you will exhaust yourself. Because no matter what you say, some people will never change their minds. Some people don't want to understand you. They just want to control you. And the way they do that is by getting a reaction out of you. So let me give you a challenge. The next time someone tries to get a reaction out of you, don't give them that satisfaction. Stay quiet. Stay calm. Stay in control. Let them say what they want. Let them think what they want. Because at the end of the day, their words don't define you. Their opinions don't determine your success. Their doubts don't shape your future. Only you can do that. You ever notice how the most powerful people in the room are usually the quietest? That's not by accident. That's because they understand that words are energy. And when you waste your energy trying to explain yourself to people who don't matter, you have nothing left for the things that do. Let me tell you a little secret. People respect silence more than they respect words. If you always react, if you always argue, if you always try to prove a point, people will stop taking you seriously. But if you stay silent, if you stay composed, If you only speak when it truly matters, people will listen when you do talk. They'll pay attention because they know that when you speak, it's worth listening to. I remember a time early in my career when people doubted me. They said I wasn't smart enough, I wasn't talented enough, that I would never make it. And I had two choices. I could spend my energy trying to convince them they were wrong, or I could stay quiet and let my success do the talking. I chose the second option. And guess what? As I kept working, as I kept growing, as I kept succeeding, those same people started changing their tune. They started respecting me. They started listening, not because I argued with them, not because I proved them wrong with my words, but because I proved them wrong with my actions. And that's what I want for you. I want you to stop wasting your energy on people who don't matter. I want you to stop reacting to every little thing that comes your way. I want you to understand that the most powerful thing you can do in the face of criticism, in the face of doubt, in the face of negativity, is nothing. Stay silent. Keep moving. Keep winning. Because when you do that, when you refuse to react, you become unstoppable. Let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them wonder. And while they do that, you'll be too busy building, growing, and succeeding to even notice. And that's how you win. Number 2, the less you explain, the more mysterious you become. You ever notice how the loudest people in the room are usually the ones who get ignored? The ones who talk too much, explain too much, justify too much. Nobody takes them seriously. But the ones who don't say much, the ones who move in silence, those are the ones that turn heads. Those are the ones that make people wonder. Those are the ones that carry real power. See, most people can't stand silence. The moment someone questions them, they jump to defend themselves. The moment they make a decision, they feel the need to explain it. The moment someone misunderstands them, they go out of their way to correct the record. And you know what happens? They become predictable. They become easy to figure out. And worst of all, they lose the respect they're trying so hard to earn. But the ones who don't explain, the ones who don't give everything away, they move differently. They don't waste time justifying their choices. They don't look for approval. They don't argue about things that don't matter. And that drives people crazy. Because when someone can't figure you out, when they don't know what you're thinking, when they can't predict your next move, they start paying attention. That's the power of mystery. That's what happens when you stop explaining yourself. People start watching you more closely. They start wondering what's going on in your mind. They start seeing you as someone they should respect. Because the moment you stop over-explaining, the moment you stop giving everything away, you create something that most people never have: intrigue. Think about it. Think about the people you admire the most. Are they constantly explaining themselves? Do they feel the need to prove every decision they make? No. They act. They move. They make things happen. And the world just has to keep up. The moment you stop explaining, the moment you stop justifying, you step into a different level of power. Because here's what most people don't understand. When you explain too much, when you tell people every little detail about what you're doing, you give them control over your story. You give them something to criticize, something to debate, something to doubt. But when you stay quiet, when you let your actions speak for themselves, you take that control back. Now some people will say, "But Jim, don't I need to explain myself so people don't get the wrong idea?" No, you don't. People are going to think what they want to think no matter what you say. And the harder you try to change their minds, the more power you give them over you. Instead of wasting time explaining, just do what needs to be done. Let people wonder. Let them guess. Let them try to figure you out. Because the less they know, the more powerful you become. There's something about a person who doesn't explain themselves that commands respect. You ever been in a room where someone makes a big decision and then just moves forward without saying a word? No hesitation, no back and forth, no long-winded explanations, just action. And what happens? People pay attention. They don't argue. They don't question. They follow. Because that kind of confidence is rare. Most people don't have it. Most people need validation. They need reassurance. They need approval. But not you. Not anymore. From now on, you move differently. You make decisions, and you stand by them. You don't explain. You don't justify. You don't seek approval. And when people ask why, you just smile and keep moving. Because when you stop explaining, you start winning. When you stop justifying, you start commanding respect. When you stop proving yourself to people who don't matter, you step into the kind of power that most people never experience. And let me tell you something, that kind of power changes everything. People start treating you differently. They start respecting your time. They start valuing your words. Because they know you're not just talking to talk. They know that when you speak, it's because you have something important to say. So stop explaining. Stop justifying. Stop justifying. Stop giving your power away. Be the person who moves in silence. The person who doesn't need approval. The person who lets their actions do the talking. Because when you do that, everything changes. The world starts paying attention. The right people start respecting you. And you become the kind of person that nobody can ignore. Number 3. Walking away quietly is more powerful than any argument. You don't have to argue. You don't have to prove your point. You don't have to waste your time convincing people who don't want to listen. You see, the most powerful move you can make sometimes is to say nothing at all and just walk away. That silence, that refusal to engage, carries more weight than any words ever could. Most people don't get this. They think winning means having the last word. They think power is about being louder, explaining harder, fighting longer. But real power is when you don't even give them a fight to begin with. You just step away. You remove your energy. You take yourself out of the equation. And that alone shakes people more than any argument ever could. Because here's the truth. People expect you to react. They expect you to argue, to defend yourself, to get emotional, to fight back. They thrive on it. The moment you take the bait, they've got you. Now you're playing their game, wasting your time, draining your energy. And for what? To prove a point, to win an argument that won't change a thing. But the person who walks away, that's the person who holds all the power. Because when you walk away, you send a message. You tell them, I don't need to prove anything to you. And that drives people crazy. Because they don't know what you're thinking. They don't know if you're angry, if you're unbothered, if you're planning something bigger. And that uncertainty, that silence, that's where real power lives. Think about the last time you saw someone argue for hours over something pointless. What did they gain? What changed? Nothing. Just wasted time, wasted energy, and a whole lot of stress. Now think about the last time someone just smiled, turned around, and walked away. That left an impact, didn't it? That made people stop and think. That made them question everything. That's because silence is unsettling. It forces people to sit with their own thoughts, their own actions. It makes them wonder if they made a mistake, if they pushed too far. And it works in every area of life. Someone disrespects you, walk away. Someone doubts you, walk away. Someone tries to drag you into drama, walk away. Not because you're weak, not because you're scared, but because your time is too valuable. Your energy is too precious. Your mind is too focused on bigger things. You don't have time to prove yourself to people who don't even matter. You don't have time to argue with people who will never see your worth. The best revenge. It's not proving people wrong with words. It's not arguing until they finally admit they were wrong. It's not forcing them to see your side. The best revenge is silence. The best revenge is success. The best revenge is walking away and letting your results speak for themselves. Because people remember that. They remember the one who didn't beg for their respect. They remember the one who didn't stoop to their level. They remember the one who walked away with their head held high. That's the person they can't forget. That's the person who leaves an impact. So the next time you're tempted to argue, the next time someone tries to pull you into their chaos, ask yourself, is this worth my time? Is this worth my energy? Will this change anything? And if the answer is no, then smile, turn around, and walk away. Because in that moment, you're not just leaving the argument, you're rising above it. And that is the ultimate power. Number 4. Winners work in silence. Talkers stay stuck. People talk too much. They love to announce their plans, tell the world what they're going to do, and get everyone's attention before they've even started. They want to be seen as successful before they've even put in the work. And that's exactly why they stay stuck. Because talking about success and actually working for it are two very different things. The real winners, the ones who actually make something of themselves, don't waste time telling everyone what they're up to. They don't need to prove anything to anyone. They don't seek applause before they've earned it. They just put their heads down and work. No distractions, no validation seeking, no unnecessary noise, just results. And by the time people realize what they've been doing, it's already done. That's the kind of person you want to be. Look around you. Most people aren't moving forward. They say they want success, but they spend more time talking about their plans than actually executing them. They'll tell you they're going to start a business. They'll tell you they're going to get in shape. They'll tell you they're going to change their habits. Wake up earlier. Be more disciplined. But 6 months later, a year later, nothing has changed. They're still saying the same things. Why? Because all they did was talk. And talking, without action, leads nowhere. But the ones who are really making moves, they don't talk. They just do. They don't announce their goals. They achieve them. They don't wait for the right time. They create the right time. They don't look for motivation. They build discipline. And while everyone else is busy explaining why they're going to succeed, the real winners are too busy actually succeeding. And here's the thing. The more you talk, the more energy you waste. The more you explain, the more doubt you invite. Every time you share your plans, you open yourself up to other people's opinions, distractions, and negativity. And most people, they won't support you. They won't encourage you. They'll question you. They'll tell you why it's impossible. They'll remind you of every past failure. And before you know it, that fire you had, that excitement, it starts to fade. But when you move in silence, no one can stop you. No one knows what you're working on, so no one can interfere. No one knows your next move, so no one can get in your way. And that's where power comes from. Not from proving yourself to others, but from proving yourself to yourself. From showing up every single day, in the quiet hours, doing the work that no one sees. Because that's what separates the successful from the unsuccessful. Think about the last time you saw someone talk a big game but never follow through. It's frustrating, isn't it? They make all these promises. They hype themselves up. But when it's time to deliver, there's nothing. No progress, no results, just more talking. Now think about the ones who stay quiet, who don't say much, but always seem to be ahead. Those are the people who understand how success works. They let their work speak for them. They don't need to convince anyone, because their results do all the talking. That's the kind of mindset you need to have. Stop telling people what you're going to do. Stop looking for recognition before you've done the work. Stop seeking approval from people who don't even have their own lives figured out. Just put your head down and work. Every single day. No excuses, no explanations, no distractions, because at the end of the day, no one cares about what you were planning to do. They only care about what you actually did. And that's the ultimate test. Can you stay focused without the applause? Number 5. Silence protects your energy. Not everyone deserves your words. The thing about silence is that it's not just about shutting your mouth or avoiding conflict. It's about protecting your energy, your time, and your mind from all the distractions that the world throws at you. In today's world, everyone wants a piece of you. People want your time, your opinions, your thoughts, your responses, and often they don't care about the value of what they're asking for. They just want to take from you. But silence is the armor you wear to keep your energy intact. Not everyone deserves your words, and not everyone should get a piece of your energy. I want you to think about the times when you've shared too much. You know those moments when you've over-explained something? Or perhaps you've gotten into long-winded discussions with people who never truly listen. How did it feel afterward? You probably felt drained, exhausted, or even regretful. That's because you gave away something valuable. Your energy. You gave people your time and your mental focus when they didn't deserve it. You allowed them to take something from you. And in return, you walked away with less. That's a cycle I want you to break. The truth is, your words and energy are your most precious resources. They can either build you up or tear you down. When you engage in meaningless conversations, arguments, or back and forths with people who have no interest in listening or learning, You're giving away your power. And let me tell you, when you give away too much of your power, you end up empty. You end up exhausted. But here's the good news. You have the ability to change that. You don't have to participate in every conversation. You don't have to explain yourself to everyone. You don't have to react to every criticism. Silence is the key to protecting your energy. There's a reason why winners, successful people, and those who operate at the highest level don't spend their time explaining themselves to people who aren't invested in their journey. Successful people are selective with their words. They know that every word, every conversation, every exchange of energy is precious, and they don't waste it. Instead, they focus their energy on what matters most: their goals, their vision, their personal growth. That's why silence is so powerful. It shields you from distractions, from negativity, and from people who would only drain you without giving anything back. Now, let's be real. Silence doesn't mean you become a hermit, hiding away from the world. It doesn't mean you stop communicating with people who matter to you. What it does mean is that you become more discerning about where you place your energy. You recognize that not everyone deserves your time or your thoughts. You learn to choose your battles wisely. And most importantly, you learn to protect your peace. Your silence sends a message that you're not willing to engage in petty distractions. It tells the world that you're focused, you're grounded, and you won't be swayed by things that don't align with your purpose. Think about how often people come to you with complaints, gossip, or trivial issues. It's nonstop, right? People always want to vent, always want to share their drama, their problems, or their judgments. And you know what happens when you get pulled into these conversations? You start to absorb that negativity. It becomes part of your energy. You start to feel drained, frustrated, or worse, you start to believe the negativity you've been exposed to. That's the danger of not guarding your energy. But when you choose silence, when you choose not to respond or engage with things that don't serve you, you protect your energy. You stop the cycle of negativity before it even has a chance to take root in your mind. You stop the drain, and instead you create space for positive, productive, and empowering thoughts to fill that space. You become like a fortress for your own well-being. You understand that not everyone deserves to share your time, your mind, and your energy. You are selective, you are powerful, and most importantly, you're in control. Another thing about silence is that it helps you avoid unnecessary drama. Drama drains your energy. It's like a toxic force that seeps into every area of your life and keeps you distracted from what really matters. People who thrive on drama are everywhere. They're the ones who love to stir the pot, create chaos, and keep things in constant motion. And when you get involved in that drama, it's like quicksand. You get stuck, and you can't move forward. Silence, on the other hand, is like stepping out of the quicksand. It gives you the space to breathe, to think, and to focus on what matters. When you stop explaining yourself and engaging in unnecessary conversations, you begin to understand the power of choosing your silence. Silence is more than just a tool to avoid conflict. It's a tool to focus. It's a tool to bring your energy back to you. It's a tool to keep your thoughts clear, your mind focused, and your life on track. And here's something else you might not realize. Your absence speaks louder than your presence. When you choose silence, when you choose to walk away from conversations or situations that don't serve you, you send a message that is incredibly powerful. People start to take you more seriously. They start to notice that you're not easily swayed by distractions, and they begin to understand that you're not someone to be taken lightly. Your silence communicates strength, clarity, and purpose. It shows that you know who you are and what you stand for. The key to living a fulfilling, productive life is learning to manage your energy. You can't afford to waste it on things that won't help you grow. And silence is the best way to protect that energy. When you choose to stay silent in situations that don't deserve your attention, you create the space to focus on the things that matter most. You stop letting external noise dictate your internal peace. You stop allowing other people's chaos to disrupt your harmony. Silence becomes your shield, your protector, and your secret weapon. So the next time you find yourself in a situation where someone is trying to pull you into a negative conversation, a petty argument, or a useless exchange, ask yourself, is this worth my energy? If the answer is no, then don't be afraid to stay silent. Don't be afraid to walk away. Don't be afraid to protect your peace. Silence is a form of strength. It's a form of self-respect. It's the key to unlocking your true power. Number 6, your absence speaks louder than your presence. You know what they say about people who make a real impact in this world? They don't need to be in the spotlight every second. They don't need constant validation or to be the center of attention. They don't need to scream their achievements from the rooftops. Instead, they let their actions speak for themselves. And more often than not, it's their absence that speaks the loudest. Let me tell you something powerful. When you know your worth, when you're confident in your purpose, when you've got clarity on where you're headed, you understand one thing. Sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is when you're not even in the room. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but I need to be seen. I need people to know what I'm doing. I need to prove my worth. I get it. We've all felt that way at some point. But here's the thing. The more you chase that attention, the more you make yourself available to the world, the more you start to lose yourself in the noise. The people who really make an impact are the ones who know when to show up and when to step back. They know when their presence is needed, and they also know when their absence can speak louder than any words. Let me break this down. Think about a time when you've been around someone who constantly needs to be seen, constantly needs to talk, constantly needs to be validated. How did that make you feel? Maybe a little exhausted. Maybe you found yourself tuning them out, even if you didn't mean to. The truth is, when someone is always in your face, always talking, always performing, they lose their impact. The more they say, the less people listen. It's just human nature. We don't appreciate something that's always in our line of sight. We begin to take it for granted. But when someone steps away, when they pull back, when they become harder to reach or harder to predict, suddenly their presence becomes more valuable. You start to wonder what they're up to. You start to pay attention. And when they do speak or show up, it carries weight. There's something magnetic about people who can master the art of absence. They know that their time and energy are precious, and they don't waste it. They understand that by not always being around, they make themselves more desirable. It's like a breath of fresh air in a world that's always moving a mile a minute. They step back, and suddenly, their presence is felt in a much deeper way. Here's something powerful I want you to grasp. Your absence isn't just about physically not being there. It's about emotionally and mentally detaching from situations and people that drain your energy. It's about not feeling the need to be in every conversation, not needing to be involved in every conflict, and certainly not needing to have your opinion heard all the time. It's about knowing that you don't have to fight for your place in the world, because you already know you belong. You know that your worth isn't tied to how many people know your name, or how many people see you in action. Your value is inherent, and it doesn't need constant affirmation from others. When you get to this point, when you truly understand this, you start to notice how much power you gain by stepping back. You gain a sense of peace, of control, and you also gain a deep respect for yourself. People who are constantly in the limelight, or constantly chasing after attention, often miss this. They're so busy performing, so busy trying to prove themselves, that they never realize how much energy they're wasting. They never realize that by being everywhere, all the time, they actually water down their own presence. But you're going to learn how to do it differently. You're going to learn how to use your absence as a tool to strengthen your presence. You'll see the more you step back and choose to focus on your own growth, your own mission, and your own peace of mind, the more people will respect you. They'll stop taking you for granted. And when you do decide to show up, when you do decide to speak, people will listen. It's like the power of a quiet leader. Think about the leaders you admire. Are they the ones who are always talking, always in front of the crowd, always seeking attention? Or are they the ones who quietly lead by example, who only speak when they have something important to say, and who make their presence known not through constant words, but through their actions? These are the leaders who command respect. These are the people whose absence speaks volumes. Their silence doesn't make them weak. It makes them stronger, more powerful, and more impactful. It's the absence that gives their words weight. It's the absence that gives their actions the power to inspire. When you step back, when you create that space between yourself and the noise of the world, you're creating an environment where your energy can grow. You're creating a foundation for your actions to speak louder than any words could ever do. Because when you do speak, when you do show up, you do so with purpose, you do so with intention, you do so with a sense of power that can't be ignored. And let's be real about this. There's something magnetic about a person who is comfortable being absent. The world is full of noise, full of people clamoring for attention, for recognition, for validation. But the person who knows how to be absent, the person who knows how to step away, becomes a breath of fresh air. People are drawn to that energy. People respect that person because they understand that they don't need to shout to be heard. They don't need to be seen every moment to make an impact. And the moment they do show up, it's like the world pays attention because they know it's important. Your absence is a reminder that you're not here to play small. You're not here to waste your time and energy on things that don't matter. You're here to focus on what truly matters: your growth, your purpose, your vision. When you get comfortable with stepping away from the noise, you'll see how much more you achieve. Your energy becomes more focused, more powerful, and you become more of who you were always meant to be. So I want you to think about that the next time you feel the need to prove yourself, to be everywhere, to say everything. Understand that your absence is not a weakness. It's a strength. It's a sign of your focus, your self-respect, and your commitment to what really matters. Don't be afraid to take that step back. Don't be afraid to let your actions do the talking. Because when you do show up, when you do speak, when you do make your presence known, it will be impossible to ignore. Your absence will have already said everything you needed to say. Number 7. When you stop explaining, people start watching. It's not about being quiet because you have nothing to say, but rather choosing to remain silent because you have everything to say. But you don't need to shout it to be heard. Think about it. The moment you stop explaining yourself, the moment you stop feeling like you have to justify every decision, every action, and every thought, something incredible happens. People start to pay attention. They begin to take notice of you in ways they never have before. You stop being just another voice in the crowd, and you start becoming the person others look to for guidance, for inspiration, for answers. And you don't even have to say a word. We live in a world where everyone feels the need to explain, to defend, to make sure that everyone understands them, to over-communicate. And in doing so, they lose their power. They lose the mystery that draws people in. When you're always explaining yourself, when you're constantly trying to prove something to someone, you lose the essence of who you are. You become predictable. You become ordinary. And let's be real. Ordinary doesn't change anything, but silence. Silence holds weight. It holds power. It creates curiosity. When you stop explaining every little thing about yourself, when you stop trying to fit into other people's boxes, you create room for people to wonder, to look deeper, to ask questions. And in turn, they start to respect you on a level that words alone could never achieve. The funny thing about silence is that it's not empty at all. In fact, it's often more powerful than anything you could say. It's in the quiet moments, the pauses, the stillness, that people begin to pay attention. They start to observe you more closely. They start to realize that you're not someone who needs to be heard every second of the day to have value. You're someone who knows the power of restraint. You know the value of holding back. You understand that the less you say, the more mysterious and intriguing you become. And it's that intrigue that draws people in. It makes them want to know more about you. It makes them start to question what's going on behind your silence, what's going on in your mind, what you're really all about. And that's exactly where you want them. Curious, interested, and hanging on to every word you do choose to speak. You might think that if you don't explain everything, if you don't tell people exactly what's going on with you, they'll misunderstand you. Or even worse, they'll think you're hiding something. But the truth is, people are far more likely to respect you when you stop explaining yourself all the time. When you stop feeling the need to justify every choice, every opinion, every decision, you begin to show them that you're confident in your own understanding of your life. You don't need their approval. You don't need them to agree with you. You simply need to be true to yourself. And when you do that, people begin to admire you for it. They start to see you as someone who has their life together, someone who doesn't need to prove anything, someone who is comfortable in their own skin. And that's exactly the type of person people want to be around. And here's the thing. When you stop explaining, people start watching. They start paying attention to your actions. They start noticing how you move, how you make decisions, how you handle challenges. They begin to respect you not because of your words, but because of your ability to remain calm, poised, and confident in your silence. The more you stay silent, the more people start looking to you for guidance, for answers, for direction. They begin to see you as someone who doesn't need to speak constantly to be heard. You've created an aura of strength around yourself by simply choosing not to explain. And that is something incredibly powerful. But let me tell you something that most people don't realize. The less you explain, the more power you give yourself. You don't have to be an open book for everyone to read. You don't have to let everyone into every part of your life. In fact, the more you keep to yourself, the more you protect your energy and your peace. Silence becomes a shield, and the less you speak, the more you protect your mind, your heart, and your soul. When you don't constantly explain yourself, you give yourself the space to think, to reflect, to grow. You don't get distracted by the noise of other people's opinions, or the pressures of conforming to expectations. You get to focus on what really matters: your journey, your goals, your vision. This doesn't mean that you never speak up. It doesn't mean that you should become a recluse, or shut yourself off from the world. What it means is that you learn to be discerning with your words. You learn that not every situation requires an explanation. You understand that not every person deserves to know your business. You realize that your energy is precious, and it's okay to reserve it for those who truly value it. You don't have to explain yourself to anyone. The more you hold back, the more powerful your words become when you do decide to speak. And let me tell you something else. When you do speak, when you do finally open your mouth, every word you say hits harder. People are paying attention to you now because they've been watching you in silence. They've been observing how you carry yourself, how you handle your business, how you treat others, how you walk through life with confidence and purpose. And when you speak, when you share your thoughts, your insights, your wisdom, it's like the room goes quiet. People hang on to every word you say, because they've learned that when you speak, it's not just noise, it's meaningful, it's powerful, it's worth listening to. The less you explain, the more you start to command respect. You don't have to fight for your place in the world. You don't have to convince people that you matter. You don't have to make anyone understand your choices. The less you explain, the more people will begin to understand you in a way that you never could through words alone. They'll respect you for your strength, your ability to stand firm in your decisions, and your commitment to living on your own terms. So here's the bottom line. Stop explaining. Stop trying to justify your every move, your every decision, your every thought. The more you explain, the less people will listen. But when you embrace silence, when you stop explaining, and start living with purpose, people will start to watch you. They'll begin to admire you. And when you finally speak, they'll listen closely, because they know that your words carry weight. And that's when you truly start to leave your mark on the world. Number 8. A silent person is always the most dangerous in the room. Silence is one of the most underrated tools in the world. And when you learn to embrace it, when you truly understand its power, you start to see the world differently. The quiet person in the room is often the one who holds the most power. They're not the ones speaking loudly, trying to convince everyone that they have the answers. They're the ones observing, the ones listening, the ones who are gathering information and using it wisely. And that's why the silent person is always the most dangerous in the room. You see, there's this misconception that the more you talk, the more you're seen, the more you're heard, the more influence you have. People think that if they speak louder or more often, they'll make an impact. They believe that shouting their opinions from the rooftops will get them noticed. But in reality, all they're doing is creating noise. Noise that distracts, that annoys, that makes them less effective. The person who speaks the most often is usually the easiest to predict, the easiest to understand, the easiest to control. Their words are scattered, unrefined, and without true purpose. And because of that, they don't have the same weight. But the silent person, they're the one who speaks in ways that matter. They don't waste words. They don't speak to be heard. They speak to make a difference. They don't need to fill every silence with their voice. They understand that silence holds power. And because they understand this, they hold the key to things that others cannot access. They hold the power of mystery, the power of intrigue, and the power of being unpredictable. The silent person is like a force that you can't quite figure out, a person who stays in control, because they don't let their emotions get the best of them. They don't let others dictate their reactions. And because of that, they're often the most dangerous person in the room. Think about it. When you're constantly talking, constantly explaining yourself, constantly justifying your actions and decisions, people get a sense of who you are. They start to predict your every move, your every thought, your every reaction. And once someone can predict you, they can control you. They know exactly how you're going to react in any given situation. They know how to push your buttons, how to manipulate you, how to get what they want from you. They've figured you out. But the silent person, the one who doesn't reveal everything, they're the hardest to predict. They don't give away their thoughts, their intentions, or their emotions. They remain a mystery, and that mystery, it makes them powerful. The danger of silence is not that it's empty or useless. It's actually the opposite. Silence is filled with potential. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop talking just for the sake of talking, you start to control the narrative. You don't let others determine who you are, what you think, or what you're going to do. Instead, you keep your thoughts, your actions, and your next move to yourself, only revealing them when it truly matters. And when you do speak, when you do take action, it has far more impact. People start paying attention to your every move, because they know it's not coming from a place of impulse or emotion. It's coming from a place of purpose, of power, and of control. And that's what makes the silent person so dangerous. They don't let others control them. They take their time. They think before they act. And when they finally do speak or act, it's with precision, with authority, and with undeniable impact. You've probably heard the phrase, "still waters run deep." Well, it's true. The more silent you are, the more powerful your presence becomes. People start to realize that you're not someone who reacts to every little thing. You're not someone who gets caught up in every conversation, every argument, or every bit of gossip. You're someone who stays grounded, who stays focused, who chooses their words carefully, and their actions even more carefully. And that's what makes you unpredictable in the best way possible. When people can't predict your reactions, when they can't anticipate what you're going to do next, they start to respect you. They start to fear you a little bit too, because they realize that you're not someone they can easily manipulate or control. You're someone who is always a few steps ahead. This is why silence is so powerful in conflict. When everyone else is yelling, when everyone else is trying to prove their point, the person who remains silent is the one who holds the upper hand. They're not getting caught up in the emotion of the situation. They're not getting dragged into unnecessary arguments. They're taking a step back, observing, and staying in control of their emotions. They're allowing others to reveal their hand, to show their true intentions. And while everyone else is distracted, the silent person is calculating, thinking, and planning their next move. When the time is right, when they know exactly what to do, they strike. And that's when the magic happens. Because their actions, their words, their decisions, come with the weight of silence behind them. And silence, as you now know, is one of the most powerful forces in the world. In your own life, the more you practice the art of silence, the more you start to see how powerful it can be. You don't have to explain yourself all the time. You don't have to be constantly talking to prove your worth. You don't have to fill every silence with words. The more you hold back, the more you create space for your actions to speak for you. And when your actions speak, they speak louder than any words ever could. Silence allows you to maintain control. It allows you to protect your energy. It allows you to stay in charge of your own narrative. And when you're in control of your narrative, you're in control of your life. You're no longer reacting to the world around you. You're shaping it, influencing it, and moving through it with purpose and power. So the next time you find yourself in a room full of noise, in a situation that feels chaotic, or in an argument where everyone is trying to be heard, remember this: the silent person is the most dangerous person in the room. The silent person is the one who holds all the power, all the control, and all the influence. They are the ones who are truly in charge, because they understand the value of silence, the value of mystery, and the value of remaining unpredictable. When you learn to embrace that silence, when you learn to hold your ground without saying a word, you'll start to see how the world shifts around you. You'll start to see how people begin to look at you differently, respect you differently, and fear you differently. And that, my friend, is when you truly start to understand the power of silence. Number 9. The more you say, the easier you are to predict. When you speak too much, you give away pieces of yourself. You give away your thoughts, your ideas, your plans, your emotions. You make it so easy for people to predict what you're going to do next, what you believe, and even how you'll respond in certain situations. It's almost as if you hand over the key to your life, and everyone else gets to hold it, to turn it, to open the door and step right into your world without you ever realizing it. The more you talk, the less mysterious you become. You lay everything out on the table, leaving little to the imagination, and suddenly, you're not as powerful as you think you are. The more you say, the easier it is for people to figure you out. And when they've figured you out, they start to control the narrative. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you been in a conversation where someone just couldn't stop talking? Maybe it was you, maybe it was someone else. But either way, what happens when we talk too much? People stop listening. They stop paying attention. They tune us out. They've heard enough. And now they know exactly what to expect. We've given them everything. Our thoughts, our dreams, our fears. And the more we reveal, the more predictable we become. The more we talk, the less impact our words have. Eventually, people stop taking us seriously because they know what we'll say before we say it. They've got us figured out. And once they've got you figured out, you're just another voice in the crowd. You're not special anymore. You've become easy to predict, and that means you've lost your power. The danger of constantly talking, constantly explaining, constantly defending yourself is that it makes you transparent, and transparency isn't as powerful as you think. When people can predict your every word, your every action, it's like you're no longer a person of interest. You've become a character in a book that's already been read. There's no mystery left, no unpredictability. And let me tell you, mystery is one of the most powerful tools you can have. When you keep your cards close to your chest, when you don't give away every piece of yourself, people start to wonder. They start to watch. They start to pay attention because they realize they can't quite figure you out. And that intrigue, that curiosity, that uncertainty about who you are makes them want to know more. The more you talk, the more predictable you become. You start to follow a script, a pattern that everyone knows. Your conversations start to sound the same. Your ideas start to become repetitive, and your actions become easier to anticipate. There's no challenge, no excitement, no mystery in that. It's like you're on autopilot, just repeating the same lines over and over again, hoping for different results. But the reality is, the more you speak, the more you narrow your range of options. You make it too easy for others to guess what you're going to do next. And when they know what to expect, they can outmaneuver you. They can control the situation because they've figured out your patterns. And once they've figured you out, you're no longer in control. But when you choose to stay silent, when you don't give away every thought, every plan, every emotion, you start to hold the power. People can no longer predict your next move. They can no longer anticipate how you'll respond. And that unpredictability, that uncertainty, makes you stronger. When you keep things to yourself, when you choose to observe instead of react, you create space for people to wonder. They wonder what you're thinking, what you're planning, what you're going to do next. And that wonder gives you control. It gives you the upper hand because now people are paying attention to you in ways they never did before. They're watching, they're listening, they're trying to figure you out. And that, my friend, is where your power lies. When you stop talking, when you stop giving away your thoughts and emotions, you take back control of the narrative. You no longer let people dictate who you are or what you believe. You stop reacting to the world around you and start choosing how you want to respond. The more you speak, the more predictable you become. The more you talk, the more people can figure you out. But when you hold back, when you keep your thoughts to yourself, and only speak when you have something valuable to say, your words become more powerful. Your silence becomes a tool, a weapon, a way to maintain control. And when you finally speak, when you finally decide to share what's on your mind, every word carries weight, every word counts. It's no longer just noise. It's a message that people will listen to, a message that will make an impact. The key is to stop giving away your power. Stop talking just for the sake of talking. Stop explaining yourself to people who don't need an explanation. Stop defending yourself to those who are never going to understand you. Instead, choose to observe, choose to listen, choose to stay silent until you're ready to speak. Because when you speak from a place of silence, from a place of control, your words will be more effective. They will carry more meaning, and people will start to listen in a way they never did before. The more you talk, the less people pay attention. The more you give, the less they value what you have to offer. But when you hold back, when you choose your words carefully, when you allow your silence to speak for you, people will listen. They will pay attention. They will wonder, and that wonder, that curiosity, will keep them coming back, trying to figure you out, trying to understand you. And the more they try to understand you, the more power you have, because the more they focus on you, the less they can predict what you'll do next. And that unpredictability is your greatest asset. So stop talking. Stop explaining. Stop giving away pieces of yourself. Embrace the power of silence. And watch how your life starts to change. Watch how people start to respect you, listen to you, and pay attention to everything you do. Because when you speak less, you become more. When you speak less, you become stronger, more powerful, and more dangerous. And that, my friend, is the secret to mastering the art of silence. Number 10. When you finally speak, every word hits harder. Every word you speak has power. But the truth is, most people don't realize how much of that power gets diluted when they talk too much. If you're always talking, explaining, justifying yourself, the meaning behind your words becomes weaker. Think about it. When you're always running your mouth, people stop listening. They get used to hearing you speak and stop paying attention to what you say. It becomes background noise. But when you hold back, when you speak, only when it really matters, when you've let the silence build up, every single word you do say hits like a hammer. Every word carries weight. It's more than just sound. It's something that can shape the moment, change the course of a conversation, or even shift someone's entire perspective. The first time you speak, after a long silence, everyone listens. It's almost like they've been waiting for it, as though they've been holding their breath, wondering when you're finally going to say something. And when you do speak, they hang on to every word. They don't want to miss a single syllable because they know it means something. You've built anticipation, you've created value in your silence, and now when you finally speak, it's a moment. It's not just noise, it's not just chatter, it's something that has weight, it has substance. People pay attention when you don't talk all the time, because they start to realize that when you do speak, it's worth listening to. You've trained them to listen. You've trained them to hear every word, because they know it means something. And this doesn't just apply to big moments. Think about your everyday interactions. How often do you find yourself talking just to fill the space? Just to make noise? Just to make sure people know you're there? We've all been guilty of it. But the truth is, you don't need to talk to fill the silence. When you speak less, you speak with more intention. And when you speak with more intention, your words become more impactful. People will listen more closely, because they know you've chosen your words carefully. It's not just about what you say, it's about when you say, and how you say. When you're selective with your words, they become more meaningful. They become something that people pay attention to, because they know it's not just going to be fluff. It's not just going to be empty words. It's going to be something that carries weight, something that's worth hearing. There's an old saying that goes, actions speak louder than words. And while that's true to an extent, the reality is that words have their own kind of power. But that power gets lost when you use them carelessly. When you talk too much, when you constantly feel the need to explain yourself or justify your actions, your words become diluted. They lose their edge. But when you choose your words carefully, when you speak with purpose, when you let silence speak for you, your words take on a new meaning. They become more than just a way to communicate. They become a tool for influence. When you finally speak, people don't just hear your words. They feel them. They know you've thought about it. They know you've considered what you want to say and how you want to say. And that makes all the difference. Think about the most powerful speakers you know, the ones who make a real impact when they speak. They don't speak all the time. They don't feel the need to fill the air with words. They know when to stay silent, when to hold back, and when to speak. And when they do speak, every word is carefully chosen. Every word is a calculated move. They know the value of silence. They know that sometimes saying nothing at all is the most powerful thing you can do. Because when they finally speak, everyone listens. They don't need to talk all the time. to prove their worth. They don't need to be the loudest voice in the room. They don't need to be constantly explaining themselves. When they speak, it's meaningful. It's impactful. And that's the kind of power you can have when you learn to speak with intention. You've probably heard the phrase, less is more. And in this case, it couldn't be more true. When you talk less, your words become more impactful. When you talk less, people pay attention. When you talk less, your silence starts to work for you. It creates a sense of anticipation. People begin to wonder what you're thinking, what you're going to say next. They start to value your words, because they know that when you do speak, it's not going to be just another meaningless sentence. It's going to be something that matters. It's going to be something that sticks with them. And it's not just about the power of your words. It's also about the power of your presence. When you speak less, you create space for people to pay attention to you in other ways. Your actions, your body language, your energy, these things start to speak for you. And that's when you truly become unstoppable. When you're not always talking, when you're not always explaining yourself, you become a force to be reckoned with. You become someone people can't ignore, someone people want to pay attention to, because they realize that you're not just filling the air with words, you're speaking with intention, you're acting with purpose, and that's when your true power shines. So the next time you're tempted to fill the silence with words, remember that sometimes, saying nothing at all can be the most powerful thing you can do. When you speak less, your words have more impact. When you speak less, people start to listen. When you speak less, you become more powerful. Your words become something people can't ignore. They become something that sticks with them, long after you've finished speaking. And that, my friend, is how you make every word count.